And also in what I do as a pastor, like it allowed people something to approach me, because sometimes people get weird about the pastor, like, oh, he's like super holy and like I can't talk to him. He's like, no, I'm just a dude, and so I love Jesus. Yeah. So it just gives people sometimes something to like. For hey, sure. So they don't know what to say. This gives them something to talk about.
Hey, welcome in. This is Pulpit to Podcast once again, where, we're still figuring out what to talk about sometimes.
I think we get here half the time and we're like, hey, what are we talking about? I don't know.
The pulpit and the podcast.
The pulpit, Sunday before.
So when we first set out, we talked about how we're going a lot of days with the podcast. We're going to be talking about what happened on Sunday, kind of pulling out things that maybe you didn't have enough time to talk about. Yep. And sometimes we're just going to have some fun and bring up different subjects.
Fun.
Yeah. And so today is going to be one of those days where we just have some fun.
Yeah.
Because we need some fun today.
I said, Bo, we could talk about the sermon, or let's talk about the things we like to do. And let's like totally experiment with it and see if people even like to hear us talk about the fun things we like to do and get to know us a little more, because hopefully we're building an audience and a family, and you're wanting to listen to what's going on here at Camano Chapel. And so as always, Jeff Turner, Bo Steele, the man, the legend, which by the way, I love. I think it would be so legit to have the last name Steele. Like, come on, like you have to live up to that name.
I love it. I mean, with the way my name is spelt, B-O, like I didn't like it growing up because body odor, like.
Okay.
Fourth graders they take that and they run with it.
Kids are mean, dude.
But, and I remember, I talked about this with my mom before. She said that, like, she knew that during that time I was, like, really struggling with my name. Like, why did you name me this? And then she knew in the back of her head, like, just hang on. You're going to love your name when you're older. And I love my name. Like, it is, my parents did a great job.
I feel like if you weren't working at the church, you would have had a lucrative career as a professional wrestler or like UFC MMA fighter. Like
I've gotten
Bo Steele.
I've gotten country singer. I've gotten football player, wrestler, Bo Steele.
Hey, did you come up with that name? You're like, no, that's my given name. I'm Bo Steele.
So, fun fact, there actually is a country singer named Bo Steele, spelled the same way. And this is really random, but back when I was in college, maybe like 2014, 2015, I think is when this guy was really starting to like get a little popular.
Sure.
His most his biggest video that got him into popularity was him singing like some hymn. I think it was Amazing Grace or something like that in a hospital waiting room. And then then people started to like watch his videos and stuff. But I would get maybe like once a month these random friend requests from like old ladies in the Midwest.
What?
Thinking that I was this other Bo Steele. And I would like for a couple years before that, I did some traveling in that area, like the South Midwest. Because I was with the ministry. And so I accepted some of their friend requests because I was like, maybe I met you at some church I was at. Like,
no way.
And then they would message me and I'm like, yeah, I'm not the Bo Steele you think I am.
Oh my gosh. Little old ladies are like, oh, he's so handsome, but he doesn't look like the guy in the music video.
He doesn't have black hair.
But who else is named Bo Steele?
Yeah.
I'm going to friend request him. That is hilarious. Okay, as always, what are you drinking? You got coffee or water in that thing today?
Just water.
That looks awesome.
I just need some water. Yeah.
I'm repping my Albany Lions cup. This is from our...
There you go.
Sweet little town we used to live in before we got here to Washington, Albany, Texas. So to my Albany friends that might be watching this, go Lions. They won state football this year. How awesome is that? It took us leaving the stinking town for them to win state championship. Like, what the heck, man? So go Albany Lions.
Well, what's in the cup?
Black coffee, and it's decaf because a couple of days ago, last week, I had this thing stocked full with like just straight up leaded coffee, and it was like 4:30, and so then it's 11 o'clock at night time, and I'm just staring at the ceiling. do y'all, like here in the Pacific Northwest, like y'all probably, coffee's not probably a big deal to you. You probably drank it when you came out of the womb. Like, so like it probably doesn't affect you anymore. Me, it's like, I mean, I'm just getting like jacked up on some coffee.
It kind of depends for me. Like there's a lot of times where it just doesn't affect me anymore. So I can have it at like 4 p.m. or wherever. Okay. But there's other times where I'll just get super jittery and almost like anxious because I have too much coffee.
Yeah.
And that gets intense. But
you're just sparking out, like tweaking. Like,
I mean, that's like,
I can smell sounds.
That's like very seldom.
I taste colors.
And I have been better about having decaf if I need it. But
good buddy of mine went to decaf. It was messing with his heart, and he's like, "No, I can't do decaf. I can't do caffeine anymore." So he's drinking decaf on the reg. So
yeah, decaf used to be a cuss word for me, but you know,
it's like Diet Dr. Pepper. Like, no, bro, it's regular. Ew. Okay, let's talk about things we like to do. So I want to talk about what you're probably going to think is pretty obvious, and you're going to ask me questions about it, and then I'm going to talk and ask questions about Bo Steele's favorite thing, which you probably had no idea what it is, and we're going to drop it on this show.
Oh, yeah. So I mean, it could be two things because I have like two favorite things, but the one that you're going to ask me about is totally legit.
So here's my hope. If you're watching this and you haven't fast forwarded it to whatever point, and like drop a line in the comment section of what you think Bo's is, timestamp it, whatever, and then we'll see if you're right. So anyway, Bo, feel free to ask me any questions about favorite things, and then I'm going to ask you favorite things about your favorite things. All the favorite things.
So I know what your answer is going to be.
Yep.
But what is your favorite thing?
Outside of the good Lord Jesus Christ and my family.
Of course.
Why is it as Christians we feel like we have to say like, well, technically God and well, we know that. Okay. So
the Sunday school answer, Jesus Christ.
Like, well, technically. So anyways, outside of love for the Lord and my family, it's a little obvious. I love barbecue and I love to talk about it all the time. And so I really got into it 2004, I think, was the year that I realized that all these men had barbecue grills. They had, and I didn't really know the full detail of it, but they had something that had fire that made meat, and I was just enthralled by that. And so I told my mom. My mom asked me what I wanted for Christmas one year, and I said, I want a barbecue grill. She's like, really? And I said, yeah, that's like a manly thing to do. Men have barbecue grills. So she just straight up got me my first grill. It was like 2004, 2005.
What kind of grill was it?
So it was a Weber Genesis. So it was a gas grill, propane tank, and had 2 burners, and had a little metal grate. I mean, it was probably this big. If you're listening, I guess it would be about 30 inches, maybe. If that.
Yeah.
Maybe not even that.
Was it like on a stand, or was it like a portable thing that you just set on a table?
You could. Well, no, it was on the stand. It was on a stand. So you had to like kind of wheel it around, and had 2 wheels, and then had kind of a leg stand. Yeah. And it was just this sweet, not real big, and that's literally what I learned to start doing barbecue and grilling on and all that.
Now you can't smoke on something like that, right?
Yes, you can.
What? Enlighten me.
Yeah. Okay. So this is one of the things I love about barbecue. It's a lot of fun, and I really like helping everybody get into this because it's a lot of fun, and there's something primal about it. This kind of old school technique. I mean, we're so used to microwaves and whatever. This is like bringing it back to old school. But I also love, this is why I'm not judgmental about different ways of barbecuing, is because I like to teach people that they can cook on anything and make barbecue. I mean, I'm not pending you putting a wood log in your oven at your house. Don't do that. But so I straight up learned to take one side, because you usually got like 2 or 3 knobs on your gas grill. Yeah. And I would just have one of those knobs going. I'm trying to use basic lingo. Someone's listening to this and going, hey, I actually could do that. And I would turn it on, and I would turn the other ones off. So it's called 2-zone grilling, meaning one zone is hot, one zone isn't. Yeah. So it's the whole indirect thing. So I learned to do ribs, so you would have the fire side going, and I would put the ribs on the other side of the grate. And then I learned I put a little aluminum pan or a little steel pan from the store and put wood chips in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so you have fire on this side, and you would just put it on the grate, and it would smolder and give you some smoke flavor. And so the cool thing is you could run that gas, and it wouldn't fluctuate in temperature and would just cook it, dude. And I'm telling you, you could make some great barbecue using a gas grill.
So what you're saying is a gas grill is almost better than a pellet smoker.
Well, hey, hold on. We've got some friends that listen to this, and we're in this like debate with our comm group or salt group, whatever, about like which is which. So we've got some like hardcore like pellet guys, and we have some that are like primal, and they're like, pellets are for weenies or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm just over here. I just love to eat, so I don't care. Like,
and I'm just learning. Like, I'm a newbie with all of this stuff, so I'm just soaking it all in and learning.
So I started with a gas grill, and then a few years later, I went to a charcoal grill. So I wanted to get more into like how to make a fire and how to maintain the fire. And so it was just a cheap it was off someone's back porch and they didn't use it anymore.
So question before we get into that.
Sure.
So why would someone want to get into building a fire? Because it sounds really nice to just have a knob you can turn and it's just always there. So why would you want to get to that next place to where you can build the fire yourself, when just having a knob you can turn to have the fire come on sounds a lot easier?
Yeah. So I think it comes down to a few things, and this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
I think one is flavor. So there's different flavor profiles that you get into with like charcoal and wood. So gas in and of itself doesn't have flavor. It's just heat. And so you're really banking on the rub, the seasoning you put on the meat.
Yeah,
and then if you got one of those little metal pans that you put wood chips in. So if you got like hickory or mesquite or applewood, whatever. So there's like zero flavor with the gas route.
Yeah.
Then you get into
unless you add the flavor.
You got to add the flavor.
Yeah.
You got to, and so when you get into like charcoal grilling, you're using charcoal and wood chunks or actually wood splits to create the fire as well as the flavor. And so it becomes a more natural process. So yeah, that's why someone would want, and then also there's something a little more fun. I'll just be honest, like you're tinkering with it, you're adding some pieces, you're lowering the grate, you're moving the piece of wood. It's just this very hands-on thing that I love to do.
Even just where I'm at with just mostly grilling, like not doing much like low and slow barbecue, but just grilling. Like I have a charcoal grill, just like a big barrel grill, and I love doing it. Like it's fun getting all the charcoals ready and just there's the different variables and trying to get it just right. Like I enjoy the process.
I love the process, and it's what our ancestors used to do. I mean, like barbecue was this act of like coals and wood fire, and whether you dug in a hole or you burned down wood or whatever, there's this primal, it's in us kind of. So yeah, like I've actually been experimenting and thinking about pellet smokers so that I could help someone that wants to get, because there's all these different, now we're getting into it. Okay. So there's also this spectrum of how much of a hobby it is for you. So if you're the kind of person that's like, man, like I want to turn it on. I want to get some food going, and I don't have time to be messing with it during the nighttime. And it's just a lot easier, but I want a great brisket or ribs or pulled pork or whatever. Then I am the kind of person, I want to help people find cookers for that. They're like, hey, listen, man, I got like 3 kids and I don't have time all night to be messing with this thing. I just want great barbecue to feed my family. I'm not tinkering. It's like, dude, great. You know what would work for you would be a pellet grill or even a gas grill, but use like wood chips.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get into the like, you know what? Like I have a desire. I want to get more primal or whatever. I want to use charcoal wood, but man, I don't have a ton of time to be messing with it. And then there's certain cookers that way. And then you have some that are like, I want to be involved in the process from the start to the end. I want to burn down the wood, or I want to add the wood splits. And there's cookers for that. So I'm the kind of guy that doesn't dog on any of them. I'm like, hey, let's find out the way you like to cook and let's help you do that. That's like what I love to do.
That's great.
Yeah. So I've just progressed down the road and got different smokers and different things like that. So it's almost like my salvation story. It's like I gave my life to the Lord and got a Weber Genesis. And then it's like I've progressed along the way into like where I'm at in ministry. I'm
your barbecue testimony.
I feel like if you love barbecue, you have a barbecue testimony, like where I'm at now, and the Lord's been growing. Yeah. That's just so funny.
So going back a little bit in your barbecue testimony, so you started out with your gas grill, and then you went to the charcoal,
grill.
So what came after that?
I think what came after that was, if I'm trying to remember right, I went from gas grill to charcoal grill to a little bit bigger charcoal grill. And then I got a Weber kettle, which is still a charcoal grill, but the Weber kettle is the most versatile grill, in my opinion, that if anybody were wanting to get into charcoal wood-fired grilling, it is the most versatile cooker on the planet. And it's also the most economic. Like, it's not, up here in the P&W, it's a little more expensive, but still, for what you're going to pay for, dude, all day long.
So that's just one of those like dome grills, right? Yeah.
You can do so much with that.
So how
you can do everything with that.
So it's like the Swiss Army knife of grills.
Dude, yes. It is like the all-encompassing, other than just having it set it and forget it, it's almost close to that. If you can get the air valves just at the right setting, you can run like charcoal for like 8 to 10 hours and not even have to mess with it. Yeah. So I'm telling you, this whole podcast could go for an hour, but it won't. We promise. We'll make it short for you guys. But you can run the air damper and the exhaust and the air damper. Yeah. You can do it just right, where it's getting the right amount of air and the right amount of burn on the charcoal. And and if you want it to set it like 275, 250, whatever, or you're a low and slow guy. When we say low and slow, we're talking like 250 degrees and below. And if you're like 275 to 300, that's kind of hot and fast, so to speak.
Okay.
So you can get those dialed in.
Yeah.
And dude, you can rock that for like 6 to 8 hours, sometimes 10 hours, and not even mess with it. It is unbelievable.
So what's the difference? Like why is that dome one so much more versatile than like the kind of grill I have? That's like the more barrel style. It's still like a charcoal grill, but it's got that like lid that comes up. Like, what's the difference there?
So like, I would love Dr. Pepper to sponsor this show, and I would also love Weber to sponsor this show. I love Weber, and I have a buddy of mine. He's in our salt group. So if you're listening, shout out to Steven. He has like every Weber product known to man, and I'm like, I am jealous. Yeah, if you've ever been to his house, he's got the Weber Smoky Mountain. He's got the Weber Kettle. He's got the little Smoky Joe. He has all these products. The only thing he doesn't have, and I'm hoping we somehow get it, they have like what's called like the Ranch Edition, and it's like I think a couple $1,000s. It is
just
huge.
Like a giant smoker.
It's a giant dome. Like take the Weber kettle and just make it massive, like the size of this table. It's huge.
No.
Yes, it is amazing. So why I think it's different, I think there's a couple things. One, most of those charcoal grills that you and I get at the store, like Home Depot or whatever, they're really cheaply made. So they got a lot of places where air kind of gets in. It's not real tight. And so those Weber kettles have just the right amount of air here and on top. And when you put that dome lid, most of them have a good enough seat where it sits on the crease that it's not perfect, but you can get the right amount of air in. And I think that might be that dome also creates kind of a convection piece. So I don't know what it is about it, but they just cook so much more phenomenal than just a regular old boxy charcoal grill. And I've had the charcoal grill and I learned how to cook it, but the Weber kettle is like the step up. You can do hot, fast, just flame up a steak, or you can cook 225, couple racks of ribs, and then you can put all these accessories on it, like a smoke and sear, which is basically this deal that you set on the side of it that has just the charcoal, has a couple holes, in this like water reservoir thing. There's just so many neat things. Yes. So you can do, then we're getting into like cooking methods with like charcoal.
Yeah.
This is so ridiculous. We're even talking about. We're 19 minutes in and we're talking about barbecue.
I'm here for it.
Is you can do different ways of doing your charcoal in the cooker. So you can do like all the charcoal over to one side.
Yeah.
Okay, that's indirect. Mm-hmm. Then some people do the charcoal around it. They make like a circle. That's called the snake method.
Okay.
So that's really if you want to go really low and slow. If you're wanting to go that kind of route. And so then some people will just do live coals hot, all of them at once, and then they're just adding, almost as like if you would just add fire occasionally. But there's just different ways of doing it. Weber kettle is the most versatile cooker in as far as like outdoor grilling. You just can't go wrong. I hope people go buy a Weber. We ought to put a link in the description. Like we should become affiliates with like Weber kettle. That would be awesome. We're not trying to make money off the show.
If anyone knows a guy,
we're not trying to make money off the show. Really. So, anyways, after Weber kettle, I think I purchased my first. No. I got a little offset smoker that weighed, I felt like 1,000 pounds. It wasn't but like this big and had a little box on the side where you burn wood, but it was made from like the thickest iron and it was a hoss to get around. So that's even a different style of cooking because that's where you feed a fire and it comes up through a chamber and goes out of an exhaust stack. So you're feeding not just charcoal, but like wood. You're actually feeding wood, whatever. Yeah. And then I had a big old smoker made, and then I had some friends that made another charcoal grill, but it was like really well done. My deacons at the last church. It was awesome. Yeah, they built an amazing charcoal grill for me, and I took it with me to Washington. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Wait, so how many do you currently have?
So,
because I think I've only seen 2 at your place, but I feel like you have more than that.
So, when you become married, I love my wife. There are certain things. It's like, no, we're not going to have a junkyard of like all of your grills in the backyard because if I could, my guyness would take over and I'd have 12 grills out there. But it was like, okay, do you need 8 grills? And it's like, well, I guess I don't. And so it was just a matter of like, okay, which ones, and especially even moving up here to Washington, it's like, so I just took the ones that had the greatest value worth that will stand the test of time. So I took my big offset one, the one I had made in south of Abilene. Okay. I had it made and I brought it up. And then my charcoal grill that my deacons made, I brought that one up. And then I have also what's called a Blackstone. And it's like a flat top that runs off of gas. And we actually, of all of our grills, we use that one the most.
Because you can cook like almost anything on top of that, right?
It's really neat. Yeah, you can cook like fajitas, breakfast stuff. You can, fried rice. There's just so many neat things. So, that's the world of barbecue, man. That's
great.
Yeah, I know we spent 22 minutes talking about barbecue, but I literally could talk about this for hours. And my wife is going to watch and go, Yep, he could talk about this for hours. And it honestly, it was even just a great way for me to just get in the lives of men because most men, and not all of them, but a lot of men love to do stuff like this. And so it was just a way for me to like connect with guys and
for sure
be like, yeah, I grill too. Like, oh man, that's cool. What do you do? Like, well, I do this and that. And it's like neat. So it was just an opportunity for me in the community, at church, wherever to find something to talk to guys about. And also in what I do as a pastor, like it allowed people something to approach me because sometimes people get weird about the pastor, like, oh, he's like super holy and like I can't talk to him. He's like, no, I'm just a dude, and so I love Jesus. Yeah. So it just gives people sometimes something to like. For sure. So they don't know what to say. This gives them something to talk about, and so that's why I love it. That's great. Yeah. So I want to ask you about your favorite thing. So maybe someone's dropped a comment and said, but. Do we want to go with what we did with you one time? Is that what we want to talk about?
Yeah, that's great. Yep.
So bow steel, and I learned it's not called frisbee golf, it's called disc golf. But bow steel loves disc golf. Oh, so tell us about how you got into disc golf.
So if you call it frisbee golf, I'm not going to be offended. It's fine.
He's not going to judge you.
It's a round thing.
Except every time I said frisbee golf, you were very good to go. You mean disc golf? And I was like,
I didn't say it like that.
Well, I would be like, man, I love frisbee golf. And you're like, yeah, in disc golf.
I might drop some subtle hints like that, but like,
yeah, it was very subtle, but I pick up on subtle. So, what piqued your interest in getting involved in disc golf?
Well, so when I was really young, my uncle took me a couple times, and that's when I was like first introduced to it. I had this like Aerobee used to make this disc that had like a really thin rim on one side and a really thick rim on the other. Okay. If there's any like hardcore disc golf nerds watching this, which there probably aren't, but if there are, you know exactly what disc I'm talking about.
You might get into it by watching this show.
Yeah, it was called the Aerobee Epic, and it is currently not PDGA approved. Professional Disc Golf Association. But yeah, so that was my first disc. Okay. It was that Aerobee Epic. And I could throw that maybe like 80 feet on a good day, which
is that good or bad?
Terrible.
Oh, okay. So for me, that would be like legit, like 80 feet, let's go. And for you, you're
like the world record distance for disc golf is like over 700 feet. Yeah.
No way.
My max throw, like on my best day with like the perfect disc, perfect wind conditions, is maybe like 300, 320.
That's insane.
And I'm like,
I've never thrown anything 300 and something feet. That's amazing.
You could learn to do it. It's mostly technique.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, part of it is like the guys who can throw the furthest, they have like a large ape index is what they call it, where that you have like longer arms for your body size.
That's funny.
Yeah, so it's a like sports term, the ape index. Okay. And so the guys who are throwing the farthest,
longer limbs.
Yeah, longer limbs. They just have like really, really long arms. And even longer for like what their height is.
Interesting.
But they can just bomb the discs. It is insane to watch.
This is actually kind of grown in popularity. They're more like they have like even professional leagues now, right?
So they've had, I mean, we don't have to get into all the history of it. For a little while I was listening to podcasts.
We're 26 minutes. Well, we need to have a part 2 to this, like diving deeper into barbecue and diving deeper into disc golf.
There we go.
Yeah.
But for a while I was getting like super deep into the nerddom of disc golf and just listening to podcasts about the history and stuff, and it all came from like in the 70s. Whammo, the toy company, they like made the first frisbee, and they created these sports to get people to use their product. Really? And one of the sports they created was frisbee golf. And
so disc golf goes back that far?
Yeah, in like the 70s and 80s.
No
yeah.
way.
Yep. The first course ever, which I actually got to play when I was in college in Los Angeles area, is called Oak Grove in Pasadena. And I think it was just put in with like tone poles. So you would have like a pole that was like in the ground, and you would hit it and it would ring. And that means that you finished the hole.
So just kind of hit a pole and it would make a sound and go, hey, I got a hole in one, or I got it in 3 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So the rules are almost identical to regular golf.
Yeah.
They're, I mean,
out of bounds, or things like that.
Because that you're like throwing discs and not hitting a ball with a club, there's going to be some unique rules.
Sure.
But the general rules are basically the same.
That's so neat.
Trying to get the ball or the disc into the basket and as few throws as possible. And so over time, it developed from the tone pole to what they now call the basket.
I was going to say the basket. So I at least know some stuff about disc golf.
So we actually have a little mini basket right here. Yeah. Yeah, my wife gave me this as a gift, but it's got these little bottle caps. A little mini basket.
Bam!
So this is what a basket looks like, if you can see that.
Looks like a chalice from like
from far. But it's got like chains that catch the disc. And then it's got the basket portion down here.
By the way, I love that we have a couple things of our favorite things. So I've got the pig up here by the light that is affectionately held on by Scotch tape. And
behind the scenes.
And then the chalice, man. We need to we need to figure out where we're going to put the chalice at, because I think it needs to have more prominence. So, okay, let me ask you this. So for me, if you're going to ask about barbecue and you're going to say, hey, what is the thing you own or have that's like for you is the like creme de la creme? And I would say it's a smoker that I had built in south of Abilene, and how much it costs and what it's made from, and I could tell you all the details. For you, what's like the disc you own or a couple of them they're like, these are my Cadillacs, these are my Lamborghinis,
for
whatever.
Sure. So discs, I mean, are a lot less expensive than a barbecue. the most
$2,000 Frisbee.
Okay, no joke though. What company was it? It was like Versace or Gucci or something like that.
Of course, Louis Vuitton.
They released a $700 Frisbee.
Well, of course they did.
And it's literally like there's some guys I watch on YouTube that they bought the disc and they compared it to this like cheap like $6 Chinese
Walmart
Frisbee.
special.
It was literally the same disc. Like they could tell it was the same manufacturer. And they just stamped their Gucci logo on it and charged $700.
Come on,
Which is ridiculous.
Be better.
That's a whole other topic. But yeah, so for me, I think like the discs that I like the most are discs that I can utilize in a lot of different situations.
Okay.
Like a lot of guys in golf, they talk about how like I think it's the 7-iron is like the kind of, you can use it for whatever.
Yeah,
like
5 or 7 iron.
Yeah.
It has good loft, but you can also hit it a little further. Yeah.
So the equivalent to that in disc golf would be like a neutral flying disc.
Okay.
So what that means is because believe it or not, there's putters, mid-ranges, fairway drivers, and distance drivers.
Of course there is.
Of discs. And they have the different like edges to them. So like one, like the putters might be shaped more like a Frisbee, while a driver is going to have a more aerodynamic shape. It's going to have a more sharp edge.
Do you know Mark Rober? Have you seen any of his stuff on YouTube?
Yeah.
He goes into talking about the science of Frisbees, and that literally the reason it floats is because of the pressure down over the disc and the wind coming around. That's why it can like just float like that. If it was flat, it wouldn't go the same distance, but because it's curved.
Well, that's actually part of, so in disc golf, there's like for different situations, you might want discs that have more loft to them, or discs that don't have as much loft. Like if I'm 100 feet away from the basket and there's water behind it, I want a disc that's just going to drop.
Okay.
And so it doesn't go too far. So you're going to get a disc. Yeah. So you're going to want a disc that has a more flat top, so it doesn't have as much loft and catch and go beyond the basket. Yeah. And
science.
But to answer your question, so the disc, like the neutral flying disc. Okay. So there's the one that I'm loving right now is called the Hex. Cool. They give weird names to discs.
Is that a brand or a model?
That's a model. So the brand is MVP.
Cool.
And I mean they have their own like unique thing. Their discs, they have this overmold, so the rims of the discs are actually a more dense plastic. Cool. And they say that helps the discs to fly farther.
Okay.
It's not necessarily scientifically proven, but
I mean, most of the stuff we do is not scientifically proven anyways. We just love to do it. That's awesome.
But the Hex is so there's flight numbers to discs. The first number is how fast you have to throw it in order to get the disc to do what it's supposed to do. What? The second number is its loft or its glide. The third number is its high-speed turn. So when it's going really fast, it's how much it's going to turn to the right for a right-handed, backhanded player. And then the last number is how much low-speed fade. So as it starts to lose speed at the end of the flight, it's how much it's going to fade out left for a right-handed, backhanded player.
You had no idea what you were getting into today's episode and learning about smokers and left-hand back spin fade of a Frisbee. That's awesome.
Yeah. So the Hex is I think it's a five speed, 4 glide, 4 or 5 glide, and then a -1 turn and a 1 fade. So it's pretty neutral. So it's going to turn a little bit when it goes fast, and then it's going to come back at the end.
This is awesome.
And that's why it's so versatile, is because you can shape it to do different things. So depending on how I release the disc and what angle I release it on, I can get it to like if I release it at like a downward angle, I can get it to flip up and fly really straight. Or if I release it like at an upward angle, I can get it to like bend around trees.
I feel like we could talk also like geeked out, like But yours sounds way cooler than what I get into. Like, I can teach you how to get the fire going if it's getting a little low and the size split and where to put a little air cavity.
I mean, that's pretty cool too.
I don't know, man. Frisbee golf that's just cool, man. So Bo took him and his wife took me and my family out to Kayak Point.
Kayak Point.
Sweet. So if you're in the area and you're like around Camano Island, Stanwood, Mount Vernon, Marysville, blah blah blah, there's like a really cool area to go Frisbee golf. And I think because we played a certain course, right? It was like the freebie, right?
Yep. So a lot of disc golf courses are at parks and they're free, but they're starting to be more, because disc golf is growing in popularity, they're starting to be more paid to play courses. That's cool. But it's a heck of a lot cheaper than playing regular golf. So
if you need some free fun, well, maybe not free but find someone that's got a disc and go out to Kayak Point and go play, or just go with Bo. He is like amazing.
I love to go. I love to take new people.
He taught our whole family on how to because you think like, well, I know how to throw a Frisbee, and then you get out there and you're like, oh, I don't know how to throw a Frisbee, and so then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I didn't know this did it and all that stuff. So
most people can learn to throw a good 80 feet in one day. Like, it's
heck yeah.
I mean, we're teaching disc golf to the VBS kids this week, and Nolan, your son, threw it. Like, I had the basket maybe 200 feet away, and he threw it 3/4 of the way there.
Stop it! That's my boy.
He's got an arm.
I love it that at VBS we're teaching kids how to do Frisbee golf. 235 kids showed up today for VBS. So
incredible.
Cool things are happening here at Camano Chapel. But today we want to have fun with you, get involved in our life. So if you like this podcast, man, let us know in the comment section. Like the video. We need your likes and your comments. One of the things that helps and as part of the whole YouTube matrix thing, is the more you like it and all that stuff, it gets pushed out. And we want more people to kind of see what's happening at Camano Chapel and what God is doing here. And so
that's the goal of the podcast, right? Is to just get this out to people so people can hear the word and hear about Jesus, not just on Sundays, but throughout the week.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so what we want to do sometimes, we kind of joked at the first, we're still trying to figure out what we're talking about. That may be our tagline, because sometimes we're going to come in here and we're just literally having fun. We're talking about barbecue and disc golf. Sometimes we're going to really dive into it and what Jesus says in his word and break down things. We may even get into stuff where me and Bo are disagreeing and no, the word says this, and just have a good time doing that. So regardless of where you're at, we're so glad you were part of today. Like the video, comment if you can, subscribe to Camano Chapel. We're going to continue to, as best as we can, every Tuesday put fresh content out so that we can be consistent. But
for sure,
we already kind of hit our time. Let's let the people go. Have a good day. All right.
Sounds good.
We love you. See you next week, man.